Welcome to episode 9 of the Us and Oceans Live News Podcast. Us and Oceans Live News, the podcast. Hello again, my name is Christian Chappell, ocean lover, sea lover, conservation advocate, vegan advocate, 100% plant-based advocate, and I am the founder of Us and Oceans Live News, this podcast, the organisation that I've created to help spread awareness to the people regarding ocean and marine conservation issues and problems by sharing the statements and infos from various marine conservation organisations from various genuine sources for a better health of the oceans, the planet, and all sentient beings that live upon it. It's the sort of motto I use every time now. I kind of like it, really. Yeah. But this is the way I look at it, is when they say, so you don't eat animals or you don't eat fish, but plants is alive too. Yeah, but it's not sentient. That's what we're talking about, sentient beings. You know, better planet for sentient beings. Obviously, we gotta eat plants. That's just the way it is forward. Can't say like a nut or anything like that's got health of any sort of life. It's just not sentient. So I'd like to today. I've got a couple of states that I've found throughout the week. One particular one that is kind of shameful, that I have found, was by the Marine Conservation Society, and they've come up with this fish and chip shops. I hope you don't use fish and chip shops. Most people that listen to this podcast are actually 100% plant-based, and I found out that these fish and chip shop that I found has actually been selling, like actually cooking them like sharks, like endangered species of sharks, really. And it's not exactly the best thing to find out that, that this is a fish chip shop's actually selling endangered species of shark. So it's not something that should be. It says the Marine Conservation Society, and they say it's shame. If getting for the site, so. Salt and vinegar on your shark and chips. Chip shops and fishmongers are selling endangered species of shark to unsuspecting customers, according to a new study. They're saying, although this may be a shock to consumers who like their fish and chips and believe them to be eating fish other than shark, Marine Conservation Society has long made consumers aware of the traditional sale of spur dog, Squalus acanthius, as rock salmon or spiny dogfish, a practice which, as study shows, is still occurring in some places in the United Kingdom. Spur dog was IUCN listed as vulnerable in 2016 and is rated by Marine Conservation Society as a fish to avoid. They spend most of their lives near the seabed and feed on bottom-dwelling fish, including cod. Bernadette Clark, Marine Conservation Society Goodfish Guide Program Manager, says this situation reinforces the Marine Conservation Society advice of knowing what you are eating, which is what our Goodfish Guide is for. You can check out common and scientific names, as more than one common name can be used for the same species, and in other situations the same common name can be used to describe more than one species. The guide simplifies this and explains where the fish is caught and how. The majority of fish and chip shops sold under generic names like Huss, rock salmon, and rock eel turned out to be spiny dogfish in the study. Scientists used DNA barcoding to take samples of shark products from fishmongers and chip shops, as well as shark fins from Asian food wholesaler in the United Kingdom. The fin samples included scalloped hammerheads, which are endangered globally and suspect to international trade restrictions. The research was carried out at the University of Exeter, and the scientists are calling for more accurate food labelling so people know what species they are eating. The discovery of endangered hammerhead sharks highlights how widespread the sale of declining species really is, even reaching Europe and the United Kingdom, said Dr. Andrew Griffiths. Separate investigations focusing on Asia have commonly identified scalloped hammerhead in fin processing. Scalloped hammerhead can be imported under strict conditions, but the wholesaler had no idea what species of fin belonged to. The fish from the UK wholesaler and intended to supply them to UK Asian restaurants and supermarkets also included other threatened sharks such as shortfin, mako and small eye hammerheads. The spiny dogfish found in many chip shop samples could have been sourced from more sustainable stock elsewhere, but it highlights the problem of selling shark meat under umbrella terms that cover multiple species. Excuse me. It's almost impossible for consumers to know what they are buying, said lead author Catherine Hobbs. People might think they're getting a sustainable sourced product when they're actually buying a threatened species. As well as spiny dogfish, the researchers found species including starry smooth hounds, nurse hounds and blue sharks on sale in fishmongers and chip shops. The study analysed 78 samples from chip shops and 39 from fishmongers, mostly in southern England, as well as 10 fins from a wholesaler. It also analysed 30 fins seized by the UK Border Force on the way from Mozambique to Asia. These came for species including bull sharks. Bernadette Clark says the North East Atlantic spurdog stock was subject to high harvest rates for more than 4 decades, and fisheries were not managed during this time. Management measures have only been restricted for the entire stock area since 2009, and harvest rates have been below the maximum sustainable yield. That's the largest amount of fish stocks that can be taken within scientific advice since 2005. According to ICES scientists, spurdog is now showing some signs of increase from the historical lows in the mid-2000s, but this period is very short in comparison to the longer-term historical decline. Spurdog remains a bycatch in the mixed demersal and gillnet fisheries, and an unquantified amount of discarding now takes place of these fisheries. So there you are. It's one of those issues again where where it seems to be that maybe there's not enough cod. This is haddock and cod is one of the two main UK fish that is usually consumed. There's haddock, cod, and skate. Also, I did see some skate in the shops, but it just proves that maybe there's a big decline in cod. Like the restrictions of actually selling or catching and selling cod are very, very high. So they use these other fish, sharks or anything like that to substitute those fish. And basically, guys, you don't need to go to fish and chip shop. That's the whole that's the whole point of it all. Go 100% plant-based, and all this scandalous, shameful behaviour by the fishing industries and the wholesalers and all that, they can be avoided. It's you that has the control of what happens to the food market as such, by what you buy and spend. So it's like I say, it's frustrating to keep telling, to mention it on here, but the main issues about marine conservation are about like almost 95% of everything marine conservation issue revolves around the food that we eat, and it needs to be brought back to a place where we can tell ourselves that we don't need to eat meat to survive. And you don't, just because it tastes good, it doesn't justify your taste bud to kill endangered sharks. So that's from the Marine Conservation Society. I'll have a slight browse around again. Sea Shepherd have been a bit quiet lately, mainly reporting the atrocities in Taiji, Japan again, where banger boats have been heading out quite more frequently since the weather has calmed down from the last months that were just past, and they've been going out a lot more lately, rounding up. The last pod they've caught was Rizzo's dolphins, and only a few were selected to be trained for entertainment business, and the rest were horribly slaughtered in the Death Cove, as we will call it. The Farley Moa, as I reported last week on my 8th episode, is attacked by poachers patrolling Rikita Refuge in Operation Milagro. Obviously, I'm not going to go back into that because it's already been covered. Obviously, not very good with Sea Shepherd. Sea Shepherd only trying to do the best, what's right for these vaquita who's only 30 remain there, and these poachers who trying to catch all the, I think it's the Tatuaba fish, I think it's that one, and trying to get these swim bladders out of these to sell to the Chinese black market. There's thousands of dollars worth of these swim bladders, and obviously the bycatch of these Tatuaba fish is the vaquita dolphin they get caught in, and they're very, very endangered. Only 30 is presumed to be left of these vaquita porpoise, and Sea Shepherd are out there doing the best to try and pull all these ghost nets out that are capturing these beautiful mammals that are out there. Also have a couple of I'm going into Fish Feel, which usually I've got some very good posts all the time. I'm looking at the recent posts that I've seen. It's been they're saying about nowhere is our superiority complex more apparent than our attitude towards other animals. Jonathan Balcombe, author of What Fish Knows, discusses this in regard to the betas and other fisheries. He contrasts betas, miserable, like betas are like a fish, a type of fish. You get deltas and you get betas. Miserable existing in stores that sell them with life in the natural Asian habitat. Fish have many achievements. Their plan, recognize, remember, caught, play, parent, innovate, manipulate, collaborate, communicate with gestures, keep accounts, show virtue from attachments, possess culture, fall for optical illusions, use tools, learn by observation, and form mental maps. They merit no less respect and moral consideration than their celebrated vertebrate cousins. Basically, like it's been mentioned before, fish have a type of intelligence and are considered, in my eyes, a sentient being and should be left alone. Should be left at peace. They shouldn't be killed. They shouldn't be captured. They should be respected to live the life the way it should be, which is in the natural habitat. We catch them and we keep them at home, making our living rooms look pretty. We can easily get the fish that are in there that float around. Obviously, not ideal, made of plastic, but I'm sure they meant something soon. That I would not use any plastic, and I liked it. I've seen, my in-laws, they have these 2 tube lights with the bubbles that go in the fish go up and down it. It's good, it's relaxing to look at. Don't need real fish to look at. These plastic fish do just fine, and they last a long while, So why get real fish just, because it's real, and they look pretty and all that, Technology is so advanced, we can get fish, artificial fish that look exactly like the fish that are real, and you could have equal enjoyment out of it rather than dragging these fish out of the natural habitat, regardless of breeding, whether they're bred in locally or anything like that. That's totally irrelevant. Should not be captured at home. They should be left alone and stop being used for people's profit. And obviously, compassionate people everywhere are now speaking out against the mistreatment of betta fish. So basically, like I just said, got to be left alone. There's no need to have these captured or have this in your living room. There's plenty of alternatives to look at. Fishes are fantastic. It's so wonderful when people appreciate them. They deserve our help, not harm. The weird and wonderful design of the marine creatures struck me as I went through photos of just 2 night dives this week. Mouth brooders, lure flicking anglers, accessory crabs, fish built like planes and more, and all this in a harbour large city. Scroll for each photo's description and some comments on the photographic setup. Said from the good viz photography, and this was Rob Nolan that mentioned this. Different types of fish they found, very pretty looking ones. Also, you can look at that on Fish Feel on their Facebook page to have a look at that. So, yeah, basically, I'd like to really mainly talk about, it's getting brought up a lot. But like I said, in my opinion, 95% of all marine-related problems and conservation issues are related around food, and things need to change desperately. We're currently living in a part of time where the food that we consume is no longer sustainable for the whole planet, not just for us, the whole planet, and we need to make adjustment to how we live by eating our food. I adopted a plant-based diet over a year ago, 100% plant-based. It is a year ago now. A vegetarian before that, but I switched very quickly since I found myself thinking myself hypocritical that I was still consuming dairy, eggs, whereas the problems always led back to the same thing, which was even if I did have dairy, the outcome for the cow and the calves were always the same thing, regardless of whether I was a meat eater. So there's not much difference. Doing it for health, I can guarantee you that you do not need dairy. Don't be scared to go 100% plant-based. The only thing that you need to worry about is your B12, vitamin B12, and in some cases will have a genetic alteration in their body, which is the provitamin A, which you derive from carrots and other certain vegetables, is the provitamin A. Provitamin, the pro in front of the vitamin means that this provitamin has to be converted by your body, and certain people have a certain gene which cannot convert this provitamin A into vitamin A, thus leaving them susceptible to be vitamin deficient and vitamin A deficient. But this is a very rare case. It's like almost 1 in 1,000 people that can't convert provitamin A to vitamin A. But mainly make sure you get a B12. And like I said, there's no need for dairy. There's plenty of alternatives out there: soya, rice, oats, cashews, almonds, you name it, it's out there, it's been done. Eggs, I kept well away from eggs. Eggs is also one of the more hardest things to copy on a vegan 100% plant-based diet scale. The real egg is quite unique with its sort of like the smell of ammonia type of smell or taste for that eggs usually do. Like, it smells like somebody, like, excuse the way of saying this, but it smells like somebody let one rip, basically, when somebody has eggs or cooks eggs, and it smells like that, which is the chemical compound in it that eggs have is very hard to copy on a plant-based scale. This is eggs, but don't need eggs. What do you use eggs for? You eat egg normal, don't need it. Protein from an egg can be obtained in all sorts of forms and shapes and sizes: nuts, seeds, legumes, beans and stuff like that. Easy to obtain those proteins. Obviously cheese is part of dairy. yet another one, cheese. Very hard to copy. But technological advances makes it a lot easier. It's getting easier by the year, basically. You know, there's some incredible cheeses. I had the one I always get, which is the Violife Feta Greek cheese. It's made from obviously coconut oil, and it's incredible. I made myself a salad when I've got some salad leftovers at the end of the week before shopping is recommenced. I use my Feta Greek salad cheese, and I mix it up with salad and stuff like that, and add a bit of chili sauce and balsamic vinegar, and mix it all together, pepper, salt, mix it all together, and it makes a fabulous salad for obviously when I'm out and about on my truck. So Violife Greek feta cheese, it's actually really, really good. The Mediterranean one, I find it kind of slightly dry. Says you can grill it. I've tried it. Yeah, it's alright. Doesn't exactly match the taste of real cheese like all the others. I have not tried the Red Leicester type cheese yet, the cheddar one. I have not tried that yet. I've tried some of the others, the other cheeses that the common ones. They are right, slightly on the bland side. I think they could have added a bit more salt or something like that, or some sort of iodine. Made it more tasty that way. But other than that, it is out there and it's getting better every year. You know, don't worry about that. There are also some alternative to egg. There's easy egg that you can get. You can get it in a pack. Quite expensive. They actually got shell, these eggs, but they're actually plant-based eggs. Quite expensive. I saw one in Holland and Barrett, which is a health food shop in the UK, and this box of eggs that were vegan eggs, it cost £7.99, which left me quite shocked really. But obviously the innovation that had to go into these this alternative egg program must cost a lot of money, and obviously trying to force these costs onto the customer. But basically, no need to have dairy, don't need it. I've been doing it for a long while. The only thing make sure I keep getting is my B12. Get it in a spray form, best form, spray. If you do want to go 100% plant-based, make sure you got your B12 on you at all times. You know, once a day, spray it in your mouth, this B12 spray, and that's it. That's all you really need to worry about, and it keeps you healthy, you know, providing you eat all your greens like your mum always tells you to, and you should be absolute fine. I feel great. I've lost loads of weight doing it, and I feel so good knowing that I don't contribute any harm in the oceans. You know, a lot of people say, oh, it'll never stop, it's still going in, but as long as I'm not doing it, my conscience is clear, and I do. It doesn't matter if it's just one person that doesn't eat meat anymore and converted to not eating meat. It has an effect on the planet, because the cost to produce beef has gone up again, you know, because you don't eat it, you know, so it goes up for other people because they're obviously having to make the shortfall of you not buying it. So eventually when people obviously switch to the diet, maybe eventually the government will stop subsidising these farmers and trying to produce steak or whatever you have it, and they stop doing the subsidies. The government stops subsidies. Obviously the price without the subsidies make the meat market skyrocket, and people just stop buying it, and you know, be able to see the death of the meat, agricultural meat and all that, which would be a fantastic outcome if that ever happened. I can only cross my fingers, but I do have hope that it will eventually. You know, there's been a couple of people saying, I've actually a poll that appeared believing that it would happen somewhere in about 50 to 100 years, which I think I can roll with that one. You know, some people think it's a decade. sorry, but I think it's so unrealistic. If that happened in a decade, I'd be very surprised, and I don't think that will happen. With 50 to 100 years, it can be doable, but it's still very, very short-sighted. We'd have to really go all out to try and convince people to change, which obviously, as many people know, it's not the best thing to do. Trying to face in your face kind of change your diet sort of thing. People are really hooked to the food, and that's another thing I find kind of confusing. It's like when smoking got found out that it was causing cancer. Not many people stopped, but a lot of people did. Not all people stopped straight away. A lot of people actually did stop, and obviously changed their life habits from smoking to non-smoker. It's hard to believe that when people find out that smoking causes cancer, so they stop smoking or try to pull them off it, do anything about to pull them off these cigarettes. Yet, proven fact is that many meats are carcinogenic, and it's unbelievable to see after I drop my stuff off, people going into these shops, butcher shops and all that, and they're thinking, you don't smoke, but you still eat meat. Whether you believe or not, the proof is out there. It is carcinogenic, and I feel myself sometimes a hypocrite because my wife's vegetarian. She's not vegan, so she still consumes meat and dairy, which are also bad for your health. And I get my son, and obviously both my boys, they're meat eaters because as from birth, they've been eating meat, and we, at the time of their birth, we ate meat too. So there's some sort of worry from my wife that she believes they won't eat any food, if they try and do the 100% plant-based diet. But there's ways. It's hard to get my son to eat veggies. He absolutely detests greens, but there are ways of trying to get around it. Basically, all you people that are vegan and have a child, there's no problem in having a child on a 100% plant-based diet too. There's no problems with that. A very good cookbook that's out there, The Plant Power Way, which is you can order on Amazon. It's called The Plant Power Way. It's a brilliant book. I personally have not read this book yet, but I've heard tons of stuff about it, positive stuff, good stuff, where this Plant Power Way book will absolutely change. They say it will change your life. The authors of the book, which is Rich Roll and Julie Pyatt, as known as Srimati, really believe that it will change your life. And listen to the Ritual podcast. Just doing that has literally changed my life for the better. I found out so much stuff from Mr. Ritual, and it has literally made my life better. Like different way. Because he talks about everything: meditation, entrepreneurism. Anything that will make your life better. Like he said, to unlock and unleash your most authentic self, which is what he stands for when he talks about his podcast. And everything he does is on a plant-based diet. He's a 100% plant-based advocate. He's so hardcore plant-based that I could never follow that sort of advocacy for plant food, because I just simply couldn't afford what he does. He's obviously quite more wealthy man. There's this issue with when people say, why don't you try vegan, and it is a cost issue at some point of view for some items, especially the ones that are like what they call vegan junk items, are actually quite expensive. But if you create a meal from home, from scratch, healthily, with your own ingredients, organic as at best, and this book Plant Power Way is an excellent way to get you on the right track, and also it's child friendly, so it actually cooks meals that your child will more than likely will love to eat, 100% plant based. So yeah, so that's all I got really to say. There's not much. I've pulled off Facebook. I've got to make some more research. I've been quite busy this last week. Work again. Excuse me. Obviously been at work, truck driving, a couple of long hour days, which left me not enough time to do some research to gather together for this podcast. But I still kept talking for half an hour, so it's not too bad at all. I will leave you here with that in mind, that get the Plant Power Way book. That's all I can say. If you are trying to become vegan, get the book. If you don't get the book, go to ritual.com, where it's got many links to many other ways to help you become 100% plant-based. Anything where that you would like to, wellness, health, the diet that you have, meditation, you name it, it's all there, all for you to adapt. Take what you want from his advice or other people's advice that he talks to, take and leave the rest and form your own authentic way of living. For that, I'll leave you, and I will talk to you, or see you, or hear you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube site if you'd like any videos. Comment please if you would. I've had some comments there, but I haven't read any of them yet. There's only 2 comments I've received so far. I've done the podcast, but yeah, I am on Facebook. You can find me on there. There's Oceans Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Leave some comments, much appreciated. Give me some advice of how I can improve my podcast. If there's anything wrong with it, let me know, and I will see you later. Bye bye.